Hi, folks. I'm so pleased that you decided to stop in and watch this, my very first video in the series of apples and oranges. I'm Dr. Doug, and today we're going to be talking about apps. For any of you who have dated any time in the last decade, you probably have seen that dating has changed a lot over the years, and it is harder and harder to meet people in real life just on a daily occasion. And so most people are relying on apps in order to meet folks, in order to, develop some kind of romantic relationship. Similarly, it is also getting harder to learn about jobs just in day-to-day life. And most people are relying on job apps in order to know what's available out there and to do a search. And today we're going to be talking about some of the pitfalls or some of the things that we have to be looking out for when we're using apps, and sort of similar concepts that we sort of see in both realms, in both the romantic as well as work realm. The first of these is managing the apps. There are so many apps, so many dating apps, so many job apps. And for you, trying to figure out which apps are actually targeting people like you and the types of people or situation that you're looking for, and making sure that that app is actually a good compatibility for you. So it's sort of one part of it. The other part is making sure that you make a plan for how you're going to use that app. What does that mean? That means not letting the app run your life or feeling like you have lost control to the app. So for some folks, what might happen is you are sort of constantly looking at your phone, constantly checking those apps, seeing if anything new or anybody new has popped up, and sort of just watching that all day long. And part of you might enjoy that process. Part of you might actually feel very anxious about that. And it sort of elevates your emotions all day long. There's like disappointments that happen. There's excitement that happens. You sort of imagine the possibilities of these new opportunities that pop up. And all of those, you sort of have more desirable and less desirable emotions. However, the upshot being that you're sort of being swung all over the place during the course of a day as you are sort of engrossed in these apps. And it is important, I'm going to tell you why in a moment, it's important for you to just intentionally make a plan, whatever that might be. It might be that you decide, I'm only going to check my apps on Saturday mornings, or I'm going to check my apps 3 times a week or 3 times a day at these times of day. Whatever it might be, all that matters is that you make a plan, you stick to it, and you intentionally use the apps. So the reason for this, why does it even matter? It matters because what's happening inside those apps are lots of things that are totally out of your control, right? Like you put a request out there or you say hello to somebody, you sort of have no idea what's going on the other side. Like, what are people thinking? What are they saying? Are they even looking at the response or the inquiry that you've put in? And you just sort of put yourself out there and then you wait. And what happens on the other side is out of your control. And so in order to sort of psychologically help yourself and to bring some sense of stability into that situation, it's important for you to grasp a sense of control where you can. And the easiest way to do that is in the app itself and your usage and management of it, so that you feel like, I'm checking the app, I'm using the app in the way that I want to, when I want to, how I want to, rather than feeling like, oh, I've lost all control. The app makes me do these things and I can't stop myself. And words like that are indicating that you feel like I've lost control of this process. And now there's no part of this that I actually feel like I have mastery over, or any kind of sense of self-determination. So in order to help reduce the anxiety-provoking or worry element of searching for a mate or a job, then it's sort of important for you to feel like, okay, I can manage this part of this process. Number 2 is filtering. Oh gosh, filtering is like wonderful and horrible at the same time. So some apps, you have more filter options than other apps. I'm sure you've noticed that, whether it's for job or for dating. And some apps, like there's tons of filtering options. And in a way, that's great. In a way, it's not. So I'm going to talk about 2 sort of scenarios. One is FOMO, which everyone's quite familiar with, fear of missing out. For folks who have a tendency for FOMO, those are the folks that maybe don't check any filtering options or only check a couple. And what they are nervous about is, oh, if I check too many or if I check this or that, then maybe the person of my dreams or the job of my dreams will be filtered out by accident. Like maybe the HR person put something incorrect into the entry, or maybe this person checked the wrong box. And so then when I do this filter, it will filter them out, and then I will never have that opportunity. So for folks who have that tendency, maybe they don't filter enough. And as a result, you have a huge number of search results that come back at you, which can be very overwhelming. And that can domino or snowball into you at some point just feeling overwhelmed by the whole process and maybe deciding to step back. So instead of sort of swinging like feast or famine, trying to choose a more moderate route of just like moderately filtering. The other scenario is something that I call FOMAM. I don't know if this is actually a thing already or if I just invented it. If I invented it, it's pretty cool. If not, I apologize and I will give you props the next video if I learn that someone else has already created FOMAM, fear of making a mistake. And for these folks, as they are going through the app, sometimes they can be paralyzed by fear of whether it is like saying hello or submitting my resume, whatever it might be, that, oh, maybe there's something wrong with this, or let me read into the profile or the job listing. I'm going to go into way too much detail. I'm going to investigate way too much about this at this stage of the game. And so I'm asking so many questions and reading into it and worrying so much that maybe I just end up doing nothing. Maybe I never say hello, or maybe I never submit my resume because I'm just so afraid of doing the wrong thing, or that, oh, I should have applied for this job yesterday. It says that it came up online 24 hours ago. Now all these people have applied before me and there's no way I'm going to get this job, so I might as well not even try. Or this person popped up 24 hours ago. Why wasn't I online? Why did I agree to do what Dr. Doug said about holding off and making a plan? I should have been checking this 24 hours a day instead, and then I would have seen them as soon as they came up, and then I wouldn't have all these people in front of me who have probably already reached this person. So as you can hear, sort of that fear of making a mistake can add to the anxiety of the search process. And so if you can sort of self-soothe, remind yourself, you're in this for the long game, right? It's not that you are expecting immediate gratification or immediately finding the right person or situation for yourself, but instead, this is just a process and I'm doing the best I can. And this is just the beginning stage. This is the very beginning of the life cycle of a relationship or a job. And at this point, you sort of want to keep your possibilities open and your expectations open, and also expectations of yourself, of realizing like, I'm just doing the best that I can, and that is enough, and that is good enough for me. Number 3 is the must-have list. It's another thing that like wonderful and horrible at the same time. So there are 2 errors that oftentimes I see with the must-have list. The first error is that oftentimes the must-have list is way too long, and you are actually lying. Turns out that many of the things on these long lists are not actually must-haves. So I literally interpret must-have as must-have, meaning no go, no budging. But instead, a lot of these things on people's must-have lists are actually things that you're willing to give on if the person or situation is actually really great. And so maybe I initially said like, oh, this person must have a graduate degree. And I meet someone with a bachelor's degree who is absolutely wonderful. And so, of course, I say, oh, well, it's not a must-have in this situation. So I say that those things should be moved over to another list called would prefer or would be nice. So the would be nice list, you could have hundreds of things on that list. Totally fine. Absolutely great. The must-have list, I say it should have 3 to 5 elements on it. These are the things that no matter what, you could be the perfect person for me. But if you have one of these characteristics or don't have one of these characteristics, it's a no-go. I will not date you. I will not be employed by you. So those are your must-haves. So that's the first mistake. The second mistake that I often see with these must-have lists is that people are missing one vital list item. And this piece is so important that it often will sort of supersede anything else on the must-have list. And it's pretty big, and we don't really talk about it enough. I'm hoping that you are waiting with bated breath and just like, can't wait to hear what I'm about to say. So this item that is missing on many people's must-have lists is, how do I feel and how do I think that they feel about me? It's very subjective. It's not very concrete. However, it is incredibly important. So, let's say you've gone to a job interview. Job is perfect. It's everything that you've ever wanted. You come away from the interview or the first few interactions sort of feeling like, don't really feel passionate about this. I don't feel really good. Like, I don't know if this is a good fit for me. I don't know how they feel about me. They seem sort of ho-hum about me. And so you sort of come away feeling like, very ambiguous and ambivalent. And as opposed to, let's say you go on a first date or first couple of dates and you come away feeling like, I'm gorgeous, I'm smart, I'm funny. The other person is like mesmerized by me. Like those characteristics, that quality, that impact is usually more important than anything else. And oftentimes it seems that maybe not your must-have list, but the stuff that's on your would-be nice list, that those sort of float off into the distance. They just become much less important because of the way that that person or that situation makes you feel about yourself. And it is an element that I hope that you keep in mind. So maybe just think about old relationships, old jobs, or your current relationship, your current job, and think about what it was like at the beginning and how did you feel about yourself? How did you think that they felt about you? And sort of the subjective experience of that, how you felt, how desirable those feelings were at the beginning. And that plays a big part in whether the way that you feel about yourself and the way that you think that the other party feels about you. It's not just a matter of me telling you like, oh, you should feel good about the situation. It's more so that you are picking up unconsciously something about the long-term picture with that other party. So if you have a first couple of interactions and you feel great about yourself, chances are that this is a company that actually nurtures that, of sort of wants their human resources to sort of reach their potential and to be as great as they can be. And like, we support you, we're a funny place, we're whatever it might be. So you sort of pick that up, which is why you felt so good about yourself, and you can tell that they feel good about you. And if you are having the opposite reaction, something negative, that's also telling you something about the big picture, the long-term picture of that relationship or that job. The last point is, don't be fooled by a pretty face. So what does that mean? In the dating world, it's a little bit more clear of what a pretty face is, of sort of, going through your app, excluding people based on the way they look or different physical characteristics, and maybe not looking any deeper into those people just because of the way that they look. The equivalent over in the workforce is the external trappings of that role. The reputation of that company, how famous people are. If you drop that name to others, that people are impressed, looks great on your CV or your resume. Like, that is what I mean by pretty face. That on the outside, like, it's just golden. And everybody is sort of clamoring to be a part of that. So what is wrong with that? If everything behind the pretty face is great, then great. But the pretty face is not always a representation or a reflection of what the inside experience is like. So as many of you know, you've probably taken jobs with places that have great reputations, or that you knew would look impressive, and you end up disappointed. It's just not a good fit for you. Similarly, maybe dating somebody who you find very, very attractive, but over time, what you realize is that at the beginning, you enjoyed looking at them, and it made you feel good to maybe walk around town with them. But at some point, the stuff that's happening on the inside, the incompatibility, overrides that pretty face. Similarly with the job, that the stuff that is happening at the company, the mismatch of culture or role or expectations, whatever it might be, that at some point that overrides any of those sort of impressive trappings that are on the exterior. And so you sort of have to ask yourself, like, am I putting too much weight on the external appearance? And once you're in that relationship or job, am I letting that sort of keep me here in a situation that is actually not a great fit for me? So it's important to remember, and thinking of it in that way, I'm hoping that maybe that will illuminate something for some of you. Thanks so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that you will be alerted as to future videos that come out in this series. And of course, whether I am interacting with you on YouTube, over on Instagram, or here in my office, I really can't wait to create something with you that creates clarity, connection, and hope. Until then.